Have you ever trusted someone so deeply, only to realize they were secretly building a plan to destroy you? That's exactly what happened to me. My best friend, the one I thought was like a sister, ended up stealing the man I was supposed to marry. Back then, everything felt perfect. I had a fiancé who made me feel like the luckiest woman alive, and a best friend who seemed to support me every step of the way. They even got along really well, sometimes too well. I used to laugh about it, thinking how lucky I was that my two favorite people cared about each other. I didn't know I was laughing at my own downfall. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs earlier. Her compliments about him always lingered a little too long. Her laughter at his jokes always just a little too loud. But I brushed it off, blind to what was coming. Before I take you deeper into this story of betrayal and heartbreak, don't forget to hit subscribe, because trust me, what happened next will make you question everyone you've ever let close. At first, it was little things that made me pause. My best friend, let's call her Anna, started making these side comments that felt strange. Like one time, when I told her about a promotion at work, she smiled and said, "Wow, you really are lucky. Perfect job, perfect guy. Some people just get everything, huh?" She laughed afterward, but her eyes didn't match the smile. I shrugged it off, telling myself I was overthinking. But the more I looked back, the more I realized those comments weren't innocent. They were layered with envy, with this subtle bitterness that I ignored because I trusted her. Sometimes she'd joke about borrowing my fiancé for advice. "Don't worry, I'll give him back," she'd tease, smirking. I'd laugh along, not realizing she wasn't joking. Those words weren't lighthearted. They were tiny confessions wrapped in humor. It's chilling now, remembering how casual she was about hinting at her intentions. Back then, I thought it was nothing. But in reality, Anna wasn't just my friend. She was a storm building quietly, waiting for the right moment to strike. Anna had this way of making everything sound supportive, but underneath her words was something sharp. When I'd talk about wedding planning stress, she'd tilt her head, smile sweetly, and say things like, "Well, at least you don't have to worry about him running off. He's so loyal to you." It sounded comforting, but the way she emphasized loyal made my chest tighten. Other times, she'd offer advice that felt more like warnings. "Just don't let him get bored, okay? Men can be unpredictable." She said it with a laugh, but her eyes lingered on me just a little too long, as if daring me to question her meaning. And the worst part? I let her. I took her words as care, not realizing she was planting doubts. That's the cruel thing about slips in slowly, disguised as kindness, until you can't tell the difference between love and poison. At the time, I thought Anna was my anchor. In reality, she was the crack in the foundation of everything I was building. The more time Anna spent around us, the more I noticed things that didn't feel right. She always seemed to appear when we were together, dropping by uninvited, texting me to hang out, but making sure my fiancé was around too. At first, I thought she just enjoyed our company, but slowly, her presence started to feel less friendly and more invasive. One night, we were all sitting in my living room. I got up to grab drinks from the kitchen, and when I came back, I caught the end of a moment I'll never forget. She was leaning in close to him, whispering something that made him chuckle. When I walked in, they both shifted quickly, as if they'd been caught. "Everything okay?" I asked, forcing a smile. Anna gave me her sweetest grin. "Of course! Just telling him something funny." But my gut twisted. That wasn't the kind of laugh he shared with me. It was different, softer, almost intimate. I told myself not to overthink, but the truth was screaming inside me. Something was changing, and I was the only one pretending not to see it. What she did next made my stomach drop. That night, after Anna left, I finally gathered the courage to bring it up. I told my fiancé, "She's been acting different. The way she talks to you, the way she looks at you, it doesn't feel right." My voice shook, but I needed him to hear me. He sighed, leaning back like I was exhausting him. "Babe, you're overreacting. She's your best friend. She's just being friendly. Why would you think anything else?" His words stung more than I expected. Instead of reassurance, I felt dismissed, like my instincts were just silly jealousy. He kissed my forehead and added, "Don't let your imagination ruin our wedding plans." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that Anna's smile was harmless, that her whispers meant nothing. But deep down, I knew what I saw. I knew what I felt. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I was wrong. But his dismissiveness didn't calm me. It made me feel more alone. Because if he wouldn't take my worry seriously, then who would? And that's when the real doubt started to take root. After that talk, I tried to shake off the unease. I told myself I was imagining things, that Anna was harmless and my fiancé was right. But then came the little moments, the ones you can't explain away so easily. Whenever Anna was around, he lit up in a way I hadn't noticed before. He laughed at all her jokes, even the ones that weren't funny. Sometimes he'd lean in to hear her better, their shoulders brushing in a way that made my skin crawl. She'd compliment his shirt or his haircut, and instead of shrugging it off like he usually did with me, he'd grin and say, "You really notice everything, don't you?" That line replayed in my head for days. The worst part? They acted so natural about it, like I was the one intruding on their dynamic. I kept telling myself these were harmless interactions, but deep down, I knew. These weren't little things. They were cracks forming in the walls of my relationship. And the more I tried to ignore them, the wider those cracks became. Until soon, they weren't cracks at all. They were gaping holes I couldn't cover anymore. Anna's presence shifted from casual to constant. She wasn't just around, she was inserting herself. If we went out for dinner, she'd suddenly be in the neighborhood. If we stayed in, she'd text me, asking to come by. And once she was there, she'd make herself comfortable, almost like it was her home. What unsettled me most was how she positioned herself with him. On the couch, she'd sit just a little too close, their arms brushing. If we were in a group, she'd pull him aside to whisper something important, leaving me standing there like a stranger. One night, I walked in from the kitchen and found them huddled together, laughing over his phone. They jumped back like kids caught doing something wrong. My heart sank. I asked, "What's so funny?" Anna shot me a quick smile. "Oh, just a meme. You wouldn't get it." The way she said it, light, teasing, dismissive, made my stomach twist. It wasn't just about the meme. It was about exclusion, about creating a private world between them where I didn't belong. And I realized she wasn't just testing boundaries anymore. She was erasing them. The more Anna crossed lines, the heavier my doubts became. I finally asked my fiancé one night, trying to sound casual. "You and Anna seem close. Is there something I should know?" He froze, just for a second, but it was long enough. His eyes flickered away before he forced a laugh. "What? No, don't be ridiculous. She's like your sister. You're imagining things." That hesitation cut deeper than his denial. If there was truly nothing, why did he pause? Why did his voice feel rehearsed, like he was reading from a script he'd practiced? I tried to push the thought out of my head, but it stuck like a thorn. And from then on, every interaction between them felt louder. The way he leaned toward her when she spoke, the way her hand lingered a second too long on his arm, the way his eyes lit up when she entered a room. I wanted desperately to believe him, but my gut kept screaming. Something was wrong. And the truth? That single hesitation was the first crack that would soon shatter everything. After that hesitation, I couldn't unsee the signs. They started piling up, one after another, like flashing red lights I was too afraid to face. Anna called him more often than she called me. She'd ask him for help with little things, fixing her Wi-Fi, picking her up from the eye.
Mechanic, things she could have easily handled herself. And the worst part? He always went. When I asked why he was so available for her, he shrugged. "She just needs a hand sometimes." Don't make it a big deal. But it was a big deal. Every favor, every shared smile, every inside joke they exchanged chipped away at my peace of mind. Then one evening, I came home earlier than expected. I heard them before I saw them. Voices low, laughter soft, almost secretive. When I stepped into the room, they pulled apart quickly, as if my presence had interrupted something. My chest tightened. "What were you two talking about?" I asked. They exchanged a quick glance before Anna answered smoothly, "Oh, nothing important." But the way they looked at each other said otherwise. And in that moment, I knew the truth was closer than ever. I couldn't hold it in anymore. One night, I confronted him directly. "Why do you always defend her? Don't you see how she acts around you? It's not normal." He frowned, almost offended. "She's your best friend. She's just looking out for me. Why are you twisting everything into something ugly?" His words hit like a slap. Instead of acknowledging my pain, he turned it back on me, like I was the jealous one, the insecure one. And in that moment, I realized Anna's poison had seeped deeper than I thought. She wasn't just undermining me. She was reshaping the way he saw me. I wanted to scream, to shake him and make him understand. But every time I pushed, he pulled further away, as if my concern was the real problem. And Anna? She played her part perfectly. Sweet smiles in front of me, whispers I could never quite catch when my back was turned. I told myself to stay strong, but each dismissal chipped away at me. Was I losing him to her? Or was I losing him because he wanted to go? After that, paranoia became my shadow. I couldn't escape it. Every time his phone buzzed, I felt a knot in my stomach. Was it her? Was he laughing at her messages while I sat in silence? I started double-checking everything. When he said he was working late, I'd glance at his calendar, hunting for proof. When he went out to grab food, I tracked how long it took him, counting every minute like it was evidence in a trial. Even silence became suspicious. If he scrolled his phone too long without sharing what was so funny, I'd wonder if Anna was on the other end of that screen. If he smiled at a text, my chest would tighten until I could barely breathe. And the cruelest part? I hated myself for it. I hated the way I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Someone desperate, anxious, constantly searching for cracks in a story that was supposed to be built on love. But deep down, I knew this wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. My heart was screaming the truth my mind didn't want to accept. I was being replaced. The loneliness crept in slowly, until it was everywhere. Nights that used to be ours, filled with laughter, shared meals, and quiet comfort, turned into empty evenings. He'd text me, "Working late, don't wait up," while Anna's Instagram lit up with posts from the same part of town. I remember one night vividly. I set the table for two, made his favorite pasta, and waited. Hours passed. The food went cold. Finally, I sat down and ate alone, staring at the empty chair across from me. Each bite felt heavy, like swallowing grief. Anna stopped calling me as much too. She was still around, but not for me, for him. She didn't need me anymore. She had already slid into my life, taking pieces of it while I watched helplessly. That's when the unraveling began. I cried in the shower so no one could hear. I replayed every moment in my head, wondering where I went wrong. Was I not enough? Did I miss something? Or was this always their plan? I wasn't just losing a fiancé. I was losing myself. The truth came crashing down one night in the most ordinary way. A buzzing phone. My fiancé had stepped into the shower, and his phone lit up on the nightstand beside me. Normally, I wouldn't touch it, but the name glowing on the screen made my heart stop. Anna. I froze, staring as message after message popped up. "I miss you already. Last night was perfect. When are we telling her?" My hands trembled, my chest tightened. I felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. For a second, I couldn't breathe. The sound of the shower running in the background was surreal. Normal life happening while my entire world was breaking apart. I opened one of the messages, and there it was. A picture of them together. Her hand in his smile reserved for her now.
Tears blurred my vision as I set the phone back down. The betrayal wasn't a suspicion anymore. It wasn't paranoia, it was real. Written out in bold letters on the glowing screen. And in that moment, I knew everything was about to explode. When he stepped out of the shower, towel around his waist, I was still sitting on the edge of the bed, clutching my chest like I was holding myself together. He looked at me, puzzled. "What's wrong?" My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. "Don't lie to me." He frowned, confused, or pretending to be. "What are you talking about?" I stood, shaking, pointing at the phone on the nightstand. "Anna, the messages. I saw them." The silence that followed was worse than anything he could have said. His face went pale. His mouth opened, then closed again. No excuses, no denial. Just guilt flashing in his eyes. And that told me everything. Tears streamed down my face, but the anger burned hotter. "How could you? With her? My best friend?" He finally spoke, and his words were like knives dipped in poison. "It just happened, okay? We didn't mean for it to. One thing led to another." I stared at him in disbelief. That was his excuse? That betraying me, betraying us, was some kind of accident? My entire future crumbling, and all he could offer was a shrug of responsibility. "It just happened?" I repeated, my voice breaking. "You don't just fall into someone's arms by mistake. You chose this. You chose her." He ran his hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh, though tears streamed down my cheeks. "Didn't want to hurt me? You've been sneaking around with my best friend, and you think this is anything but deliberate?" The room felt suffocating, every breath heavy with betrayal. The man I planned to marry, the man I trusted more than anyone, had just looked me in the eye and tried to explain away his betrayal, like it was a clumsy mistake. And in that moment I realized he wasn't sorry. He was just sorry he got caught. Before I could even process his pathetic excuse, Anna leaned back in her chair with the most self-satisfied smirk I had ever seen. She looked at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum, not a woman whose entire life had just been ripped apart. "You should have seen this coming," she said coolly, swirling the wine in her glass. "You were always so naive. You thought love was enough, but love doesn't keep a man. Effort does. And clearly, you stopped trying." Her words stung like acid, burning deeper than the betrayal itself. I could feel my body trembling, not from sadness anymore, but from pure rage. I looked at her, this person I once trusted with every secret, every piece of myself. And all I could see now was arrogance dripping from her every move. She had already placed herself in my spot, as if she'd won some twisted game. And the worst part? That smug little smile told me she wanted me broken, wanted to see me crushed under the weight of her victory. In that moment, I promised myself I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Her smugness was the spark that lit a fire in me. For days I had been drowning in betrayal, replaying every memory, every lie, until my soul felt hollow. But sitting there, watching her smirk, something inside me snapped. I wiped my tears, straightened my back, and looked Anna dead in the eye. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a strange, calm strength rising. "You think you've won, don't you?" I whispered, my voice steady, despite the storm inside me. Her smirk faltered for a split second, before she masked it with another sip of wine. That was when I knew. She wasn't as untouchable as she thought. I turned to him, my so-called crying on the floor while they walked away, hand in hand. Number. I was going to make them regret ever crossing me. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the storm they never saw coming. That night, I didn't cry myself to sleep. For the first time in weeks, my mind was sharp, cruelly sharp. Their betrayal had shattered me, yes,
but it had also freed me. I no longer had to protect anyone's feelings but my own. I started piecing together every detail, every weapon I had at my disposal. Anna wasn't just my best friend. She had leaned on me for years. I knew her secrets, her lies, the mistakes she had buried so deep she prayed no one would ever unearth them. And him? My dear fiancé had left a trail of weaknesses too. Financial carelessness, messages he wouldn't want his family to see, a reputation he couldn't afford to lose. I didn't want revenge that was loud or messy. No, I wanted them to destroy themselves with the very cracks they thought I'd never notice. So I smiled to myself in the darkness. They thought they had won. They thought I was broken, but I was just getting started. I wasn't going to take back my power. I was going to make them choke on it. I didn't strike all at once. That would have been too easy. Instead, I started with small, deliberate moves. A whisper here, a subtle push there. I leaked just enough to the right people. Anna's boss, for instance, who had no idea she'd been fudging reports to cover her laziness. Then there were the pictures of my fiancé at places he shouldn't have been, spending money he didn't have. I never signed my name to anything. I didn't need to. The truth was loud enough. Soon, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Anna's workplace had begun reviewing her performance. My ex-fiancé's family had confronted him about his lies, his debts, and the whispers of his disloyalty. The best part? Neither of them suspected me. They were too busy pointing fingers at each other. The trust that once bound them started to rot from the inside, replaced by suspicion and paranoia. And I watched, quietly, never interfering, never needing to. They had set the fire themselves. I had simply given it air. Their perfect little romance was cracking apart, and I was there to watch every piece fall. It didn't take long for their picture-perfect story to collapse. Anna lost her job after her boss uncovered the fraud I had carefully hinted at. My ex? His family cut him off financially, disgusted by his lies. Together, they were no longer a golden couple, but two broken people clinging to each other out of desperation. And me? I wasn't bitter anymore. I wasn't broken. Watching them fall apart wasn't about revenge alone. It was about reclaiming my power. They thought they had taken everything from me, but really they had handed me the greatest gift: freedom. One afternoon, I walked past them in town. Their smiles were forced, their bodies stiff, as if the weight of their crumbling lives was too heavy to hide. Anna's eyes darted away from mine, and for the first time, she didn't look smug. She looked scared. I didn't say a word. I just walked on, head high, heart light, because the best revenge isn't loud. It's living better while they drown in the mess they created. And if you've ever been betrayed, remember this: you're not powerless. Subscribe for more stories like this, because you deserve to reclaim your strength too.